We can also configure service accounts for constrained delegation. Unlike unconstrained delegation, constrained delegation is restricted to the list of services for which the right was explicitly granted. It cannot be used for Kerberos delegation between domains. Kerberos protocol comes with two extensions: service for user to self and service for user to proxy. Service for user to self extension allows a service to obtain a service ticket to itself on behalf of a user by supplying a user principal name without a password. This extension is known as protocol transition. Service for user to proxy extension allows a service to obtain a service ticket to another service on behalf of a user. This feature is known as constrained delegation. It allows an administrator to control exactly which downstream services can be accessed with the service ticket obtained from the client or through service for user to self extension, in case when protocol transition is enabled. Service for user to proxy extension requires that the service ticket to the first service has the forwardable flag set. Forwardable flag is never set for the accounts configured as sensitive for delegation, or for the members of the protected users group. Here are the configuration options in Active Directory users and computers. Constrained delegation can be configured for Kerberos only where end-to-end authentication is performed by Kerberos. Or it can be configured for protocol transition, in which case the authentication between end users and the mid-tier service is performed by any means, such as NTLM, forms, or certificate-based authentication, while the backend services use Kerberos authentication. Protocol transition was originally designed for the internet users without access to KDC. Here is the authentication request flow when protocol transition is used. A user authenticates to app1 through NTLM, and the app1 service account impersonates the user for local access. The user then requests access to data on DB1 service, and the app1 service account requests a service ticket to itself, with forwardable flag set on behalf of the user. Once the app1 service account obtains the ticket, it uses it to request a DB1 service ticket on behalf of the user by engaging the proxy extension. And finally, it presents the DB1 service ticket to DB1 service, and the user gets access. The service for user to proxy extension allows a service to obtain a service ticket to a second service on behalf of a user. When combined with service for user to self, this allows the first service to impersonate any user principal while accessing the second service without requiring the principal to initially authenticate to KDC. If such a service account is compromised, all the services to which that account is entitled to authenticate through delegation will also be compromised. This gives any service allowed access to the service for user to proxy extension a degree of power similar to that of the KDC itself. This implies that each of the services allowed to invoke this extension have to be protected nearly as strongly as the KDC. Configuring a service account for protocol transition and allowing it to delegate authentication for domain controllers opens the doors for the compromise of the entire domain, as it may enable the service account to execute DC sync if it managed to get a ticket for a privileged account. You can search the domain for accounts with protocol transition enabled. Here is the service for user to self event in DC security log. Note that the account and the service names are the same. Here is the service for user to proxy event. The account name shows the front-end service app1 and the service name shows the resource service DB1. The front-end service is listed as a transited service.